Forced to work from home by your employer? Laid off or feeling depressed at home? Do you want to make money working from anywhere? We'll show you how to do it from your couch. It's time for another episode of the Work From Home Show. Coming to you from their homes in Austin, Texas and Tampa, Florida, here are your hosts, Adam and Naresh.
Welcome back to another episode of the Work From Home Show. This is your host, Adam Schrader, along with my co-host, Naresh Vissa. You heard us on the last episode talking about what is work. We are back again today to talk a little bit more about what it is that we call work. What you got, Naresh?
So the next concept that I want to share is that work is not a shift. So we've talked about this before, Adam, where the whole idea of a 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 or 8 to 5, nobody's actually working nonstop during a full shift. Employees, they dick around. Businesses don't have customers during every single minute that they're quote unquote open. So, Adam, what do you think workers do when there is no work to be done?
I remember what I did. A whole lot of internet surfing.
Oh, yeah, that's a given. And I remember when I was at JP Morgan, I brought up on a previous episode, I worked like 4 hours a week, but was paid for 40 hours. And we had a listener question come in saying, what the heck did you do for the rest of the 36 hours? And my answer, it was 2010. The soccer World Cup, the FIFA World Cup was going on. So I was on my BlackBerry and I was just checking scores because the JP Morgan computers, they blocked like Google, Facebook, Gmail. So I couldn't do anything on the computers. So I had to use my BlackBerry, and I bought another charger so that it would always be charged, and I would just be looking at scores and reading the news and doing stuff on my phone because I had nothing else to do.
Yeah, sometimes the internet doesn't update itself quick enough.
Yeah, oh yeah. I was like 15 minutes behind because US did very well that year. They made it to like the quarterfinal. And everyone in the office, there was a TV somewhere in the lounge, and everyone there was like making loud noises and cheering. And I was just on my phone, just way behind, 10 minutes behind, 10, 15 minutes behind. So businesses are no different from this concept, though. And what I mean is, take a company like Amazon, right? They're open for business 24/7 from the fingertips of a phone. It uses technology, robots, software development to run its operations. It never sleeps. Business never sleeps. Money never sleeps. So this idea that my business is 9 to 5, work is not 9 to 5. And I think people who have work from 9 to 5 or X to Y, whatever it might be, they're also people whose jobs will be replaced by technology. And Amazon, the older generation, when they kind of figure out what I do or when I explain what I'm doing, they don't get it because they're like, oh, how do you collect payment? Like, how do people pay you? Do you go travel and pick up the checks or, like, where's your office? Don't you have to like take credit cards and stuff? And that's what I mean. Like, Amazon is a perfect example where you don't need to open up a store and have a cashier there taking credit cards for payments. You're literally, you can buy something on Amazon in 10 seconds. That's how long it takes me for some of the regular items that I buy. Yeah. 10 seconds. These folks who do work these shift jobs, I think that robots and automation will overtake them, or their jobs will be outsourced to contractors who will be more efficient at these assembly line type of jobs for far cheaper prices.
I can see that happening. It's going to be changing so much. It's going to impact everything. You're going to have businesses going out of brick and mortar business. You're going to have just the shift in society. We're going to have so much more even free space available to us whenever this does happen, and it's going to be absolutely glorious. Absolutely glorious. And yeah, shift workers, there's definitely, if your job, if you don't have to physically touch stuff, you're in danger. I mean, even if you have to physically touch stuff, you're in danger as well. But if you have to go to an office, but you don't have to physically touch stuff, that's going to change. Either you're going to have to work from home, or you're going to get replaced. I think those two things are, you can't separate those, because if you basically right now the only thing making you go to work is the fact that they don't let you work from home.
I agree. I want to talk about how people talk about their jobs will determine their future success within it. So let's say, for example, that I'm just a remote employee at a company, and I'm working on a web project. So I think there are 3 ways I can describe what I'm doing. So the first way is I'm just putting food on the table, man. I'm just feeding my family. And I think this mindset is really kind of a loser's type of mindset. It describes his or her job as something that just puts food on the table. And in other words,
it happens to them.
Yes. And it's kind of describing work as a means to fund their shitty life. That's what I take away from it when I hear people say that. I think people who don't like what they do, they're forced to perform this job for the money. And as a result, I think that they will eventually be replaced either by another employee or by outsourcing or technology or automation. This type of work requires, I think, a very low level of thinking. These people tend to be very unhappy with their lives. We've all heard it. We've heard that phrase, oh, I'm just trying to put food on the table. I think these people are just looking to get by.
Well, I think this phenomenon is going to help them potentially most of all, because you have those people who don't like their job and they are just going to collect the paycheck. And I think most people, when they want to do something that makes a difference. And so if you do have a job that, you're just going to make the money to put food on the table, I understand. Sometimes that's just how work is, sometimes that's just how life goes. But when you do end up working from home, that is the time, and we've discussed it before, that is your chance to improve yourself. And now at this point in time, you're going to have the time to improve yourself. So if you don't improve yourself, stop complaining, because you're the one who's holding you back.
Yes.
Yeah. So
yes. You are your biggest enemy.
And everybody's going to know, because by the time everybody starts working from home, they're going to be like, oh, my 8-hour job takes me 5 hours. My 8-hour job takes me 3 hours. Why are you still saying you don't have that skill you want? You've got 3 to 5 extra hours in the day. You must just not want to do it, or it must just not be for you because you can't understand it. So it's going to get rid of a lot of excuses, and people are going to realize it's time to put up or shut up.
Agreed. So the second type of, I guess we can call it a mindset, is your standard answer. Someone asks, oh, what are you doing for work? And you just say, I'm building a website, or I'm running a Facebook ad. And look, these people, I think generally they play by the textbook. They're low risk takers. They can generally be corporatists, employees, they're followers. And they describe their jobs literally as what they do. So employers like them because they are good employees. They do as they're told. And these types of folks actually cannot function without bosses or being part of an organized system. And there are a lot of people, we don't talk about it on this show because we're obviously not like that, Adam. But I know many people who they need the bosses. They like going into the office. They want to be a part of an organized system.
It's easier.
Yeah, that's just not my personality. It's not for me. So I don't like it, but that doesn't mean I know a lot of people who love this type of system.
Yeah, I mean, it's, let's be honest, if people like that didn't exist, it would be very, very tough for society to function as it currently stands.
Yeah. No, it would. And these people, they need to be managed and they need to be told what to do. So it's a very safe zone to be in. But one of the drawbacks of this type of worker is they have little growth potential, and they will eventually, I'm seeing this with like my parents' generation of folks. they've essentially become old dinosaurs because they didn't adapt to the changing landscape. And even if you're young, you can fall prey to this where you don't adapt. And you know what happens to old dinosaurs? They're vulnerable, and the dinosaurs became extinct. So again, there's nothing wrong with this type. My only advice would be just adapt. Don't just do whatever your boss or your manager or your company's telling you. If you're working from home and you're doing this, now you have more time. And like Adam said, improve yourself, make yourself an even more valuable employee. Don't just assume that you're going to have this job forever until you're 65 years old and then you can retire, because there are many people listening to this show right now who want to retire and their 401ks are down 40%.
You also have to remember as you're doing that, you're going to be experiencing, I mean, every generation has experienced it. You've got the new crop of people coming up, and you're going to have young people who, you know, are learning skills younger, and so they're going to be better than you at it, unless you're constantly, you know, even if you just want to be a W-2 employee who does what he's told or what you're told, you know, you're going to have people who know how to do what you do better. So you always have to be working on your trade and getting better at your trade, because company loyalty doesn't exist. You know, your employer will drop you the second they can pay somebody $1 less who can do it a minute faster. Let's be honest. You know, you've heard stories about how, millennials job hop, or millennials don't have any loyalty to the company. It's like, yeah, because our entire lives we've been shown by companies that there is no loyalty coming from the companies to the workers. So if you're of the generation that you're used to companies having loyalty, you know, pension funds and those kind of things, and looking out for you even after you become kind of an old dinosaur, and having a job for you, you know, as a middle management or as upper middle management, whatever the next step is, that's not a thing anymore. That's just not a thing anymore. So you're always going to be responsible for yourself and making sure that you don't get overtaken, because, I mean, union jobs are few and far between these days.
Well, just ask the 40 million plus Americans who got furloughed or laid off just over the past 4 months. So just ask them, is there such thing as company loyalty? And you already know what their answer is going to be. And when it comes to job hopping, you have to do what's best for you. And I don't know who made this up, who made up loyalty for companies and this and that. Like you said, companies can fire you or lay you off at the drop of a hat. So employees can do the same thing to the company. And it happens all the time. It's been going on forever. This is not a recent thing with millennials. It's been going on since the beginning of the first ever economy.
Yeah, it's sped up more and more over the, you know, with technology and the ability. I mean, technology has always increased the pace of things, so things are changing faster now than they've ever changed before. But, you know, back in the 1300s, things were changing faster than they ever have before. It's just continued to get faster and faster and faster. And as technology increases, it's going to get faster, faster, and faster. And so you're going to be in danger of losing your job faster and faster and faster as things change.
Yep, really good point. Really good point. So we talked about 2 different ways. I'm putting food on the table to feed my family. That's one way to talk about building a website. The second way is I'm building a website. So just being very textbook. Well, the third example that I want to give you is saying something like, I'm working on a site that will be beneficial to many people and change the way that they do business.
Yep.
So that's a very different. All 3 of these people are doing the same thing. But this third example, I think a great example or a great case study is like Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook. So Mark Zuckerberg didn't tell people he was creating a website or trying to put food on his table. And really, neither did Russell Branson or Steve Jobs or Bill Gates. In fact, I'm going to read a quote. This is a quote from Bill Gates on why he worked to start Microsoft. And he said, Paul Allen, who was his business partner, Paul Allen showed me the January 1975 issue of Popular Electronics that demonstrated the Altair 8800. We saw potential to develop an implementation of the programming language BASIC interpreter for the system, end quote. That's a very sophisticated answer on, why he started his business, or why he wanted to get to work and drop out of Harvard and start working immediately. I'll share two more examples. So this one is from Steve Jobs on why he started Apple. Quote, "We wanted to revolutionize the computer industry by democratizing the technology and making machines smaller, cheaper, intuitive, and accessible to everyday consumers." End quote. So again, really kind of theoretical, thorough answer on what Steve Jobs was doing. And then Mark Zuckerberg, quote, "I was just trying to help connect people at colleges and a few schools. You couldn't find and connect with the people that you cared about, which as people is actually the most important thing." End quote.
Remember, Facebook, when it first started, you had to have a college email address.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's something you always, anytime that you're working with somebody or I'm working with somebody, it's not what job am I going to do for this person. The question is, how are we going to add value to this company? Like, what are we going to do that will help this company thrive? Because if they don't thrive, we don't thrive. And if we don't thrive, then bad things, we don't pay the rent, we don't pay whatever else. But mostly, if I didn't think I was actually helping people and helping businesses, it'd be kind of a lame way to go about my day.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And in what I just said, Adam, was there any mention of money anywhere?
Nope.
Nope. No mention of money. These are, well, Steve Jobs, may he rest in peace, but Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg are two of the, I think, 5 wealthiest people in the world. And nowhere do you see a mention of money. And they didn't even talk about building an iPhone or a Mac or a Facebook or a Microsoft Excel. These entrepreneurial titans, they spoke very broadly with extremely deep purpose and meaning as to what their goals were for other people and the world as a whole. So again, nothing to do with putting food on the table, money, or the nitty-gritty of business and product development. The point that I'm trying to make here is that real workers, they don't work. They have work to do. So when they work, they accomplish results. They have plenty to show for their work, even if the work is a failure or they're a failure. I just think that they want to live at least their work life to the fullest extent possible. They gain extensive knowledge in their fields. What do you think, Adam?
I would agree with you, but I would also say, if that's not your style, if you're one of the other people, then I would say look for the person like we're talking about. You could either work for somebody who has a vision, who's trying to help people, or you could work for somebody who's just trying to make a buck. And which person, first off, are you going to want to be around and spend, time with, whether that's virtually or in person? And, which company is more likely to be around in 5, 10, 15 years? If you find somebody who is genuinely out there trying to help people, even if you don't want to start a company, that's somebody you want to be around. If they're the kind of person who you want to be around and who people are going to flock to, that's a company that's going to stick around. And they're most likely, in that situation, they're going to have more loyalty to you than some Fortune 500 company. I mean, like we talked about, loyalty doesn't mean blind loyalty. But, if you're one of the first few people in the door for a company like that, they're going to remember that. And if you stick with them, even if things get tough. I mean, we had times at the radio station where we worked, they said, we're not going to, payroll's going to be late. And pretty much everybody who was there was like, okay, we'll wait. And, it was, granted, there was a reason it was late, but it was one of those things that if you're willing to take the bumps with the visionary, with the business owner, they'll remember it. So, even if being a visionary and doing that isn't your forte, find somebody who you believe in who is that way.
So I want to ask the listeners, where do you work? If you answer this question with a place, of any kind, good luck. Will you be doing the same work in 10 to 15 years? If you think you will be, and you answer yes, good luck. The choice is up to you and how you want to work. And really all I can tell you is don't be left behind.